it's the weekend, and come the weekend, the movies get released. And they always get released on Fridays for the most part, don't they, Michael Snyder?
Generally. Yeah. Although, they'll jump the gun occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally on like a 3-day weekend, they get a head start on a Wednesday, but it's always usually on Fridays. And also, I think DVDs and stuff like that always are on Tuesdays.
Yeah, they want to eat up a little bit of your week before you can cash out and see their big budget crap.
I think the reason the DVDs are released on Tuesdays, that was traditionally the days that they released records, the record companies.
What's a record?
Yeah, so anyway. So, Michael Snyder, how's it going?
It's going okay, hanging in here on the left coast, and we've got a few items to cover. We took a little time off last week because I've been in transit back and forth between SF and LA, back in LA, and, this entire city should be ashamed of Pixels. That's right, Pixels. Oh, my God. Okay, so it's a sci-fi comedy about an invasion of Earth by aliens who come in the guise of giant video game characters. And 3 aging arcade game masters are tasked by the president to beat back the invaders. Yeah, like that's going to work. Anyway, here comes one of the problems. It stars Adam Sandler. It also stars Kevin James. Wait, that's 2 problems in my book. And then you're shocked because Josh Gad, who kind of maybe will do anything at this point in his career, a talented guy, and Peter Dinklage, who heretofore has never given a bad performance, are also in the cast. And you got Michelle Monaghan as a U.S. military weapons expert who's also a hottie love interest for the ever-obnoxious Sandler. This is bad in so many ways, it's hard to sort through and articulate them. But let's start with the idea that Kevin James' character is the president of the U.S. And we'll follow that with the fact that the great Peter Dinklage has lowered himself to be in this, and the script is so bad and so unfunny that he gives the first terrible performance of his career. And Josh Gad, to his credit, tries so hard to make the crappy jokes and pathetic slapstick work that you can kind of smell the flop sweat in the theater as if the film was made in odorama. You remember that John Waters film Polyester where you scratch and sniff at a certain point? Oh, man, that's what this was like. Wreck-It Ralph used video brands for 80s nostalgia, so does this. Hoary needle drops from still hated 80s rock slop on the soundtrack, no help. And as for the rest, I'd say 5 words. Adam Sandler, heroic romantic lead. Chris Columbus is the director. He's a guy who's made some pretty good comedies and blockbusters, as well as some less than stellar stuff. He should fire his agent after being burdened with directing this lazy, effects-laden fail. It's a kind of a must-miss in every way if there ever was one, despite extensive and some pretty good state-of-the-art CGI in OK 3D, which is more proof that all the glitz in the world can't turn a piece of crap into a jewel. Man, Pixar's, pardon the, I guess you'd call that a bit of a slip of the tongue. Pixels is so terrible. Paper Towns is adapted from a bestseller by John Green, the guy who wrote The Fault in Our Stars, and it's much less wrenching than that movie about cancer kids. This is a coming-of-age story centering on Florida high school senior with a bright future, Quentin, and his enigmatic neighbor, Margot, who loves mysteries so much that she decides to become one. They are played by Nat Wolff and the rising model actress Cara Delevingne, and I don't see what the fuss is about her. Anyway, it has moments of rueful realness, and it lacks deep emotional connections, starting with the implausibility of the Margot character, who's played by Delevingne, as her being a crush-worthy dream girl rather than anything more than a bland annoyance. And if you compare her with, like, Ione Skye's super adorable but kind of palpably accessible character in Say Anything, you'll see the difference. So Quentin and his nerd buddies go on a pre-prom road trip quest to find Margot. Snark and pop culture references and hard lessons ensue. Can't really condemn the director, Jake Schreier. The actors, other than Cara Delevingne, are pretty good. This guy, by the way, did Robot and Frank, which I thought was a really interesting low-budget sci-fi film with Frank Langella as an old guy being cared for by a robot. But this thing just didn't really touch my heart, and it had to make it work. Paper Towns. Southpaw Well, Jake Gyllenhaal, Forrest Whitaker, Rachel McAdams, and 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, are the stars of this punchy boxing drama about a champion facing tribulation. It's directed by Antoine Fuqua of Training Day. So, got some good names here. You get grit, blood, sweat, tears, and more grit. Gyllenhaal makes his seemingly yearly Oscar bid as Billy the Great Hope. No kidding. An unbeaten professional boxer whose life falls apart after an unexpected tragedy. So this is about a beaten down pugilist trying to fight back against the odds and regain his glory and more. Whitaker is the crusty no-bull ex-boxer trainer, recruited to revive Billy's career. McAdams is the childhood sweetheart who became Billy's wife and helps guide his career and keep him centered. And 50 Cent is his manager and friend who abandons him. This has excitement and powerful moments, and Jake delivers big time, but it's boilerplate stuff, like you've been here before. So it was nowhere near as thrilling as it should have been, I think. The screenwriters are Kurt Sutter from Sons of Anarchy and Richard Wenk, who wrote The Mechanic. It's pretty much 4-star talent involved, and that pushes it into the interest level. And Gyllenhaal is fantastic. Phoenix is kind of a post-World War II Germany drama about a woman who was so brutalized in the camps that she needs plastic surgery. And she finds out after the fact that her ex may have ratted her out. She was a Jewish nightclub singer, and she survived. And now she's going to find out if the guy betrayed her. And you know what? This is really fantastic. The performances, particularly by the lead actress, Nina Haas, who has been in a couple of English language films, unbelievably good. And her longtime collaborator, writer-director Christian Petzold does a great job. It's in German in part and in English in part, and it has your basic subtitles. But Phoenix, very good film for a certain sort of person who's going to get a kick out of it. Samba is a bid for more mainstream viewers. It's the chronicle of an undocumented kitchen worker who's trying to get out of being deported from his adopted home in Paris, and it's by the filmmakers who made The Intouchables. It stars Omar Sy and Charlotte Gainsbourg. It is, again, largely in a foreign tongue, French, and has the need for subtitles. But I enjoyed it and happy to see a film addressing a familiar problem, illegal immigration and its fallout, from another angle, other than our own borders, that being the French situation. Terrific actors, but I didn't feel much chemistry from Sy and Gainsbourg, who were fantastic performers. And maybe it's just me. I liked The Intouchables a little better than Samba. Also, we want to talk about, because we weren't around, Ant-Man. Have you seen this, by the way? Did you go?
Yes, I have, yes.
And so can you weigh in on it as well?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I had a great deal of fun at Ant-Man, which is pretty successful, amusing, and exciting as an entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's kind of superhero stuff disguised as a high-tech heist movie, or vice versa. It's about a second-tier but very crucial Marvel superhero, the biggest little guy in their comic book canon, the Ant-Man, and got plenty of Easter eggs for the fanboys and fangirls, and plenty of heart with mentor-protege and father-daughter subplots. But it's had a bit of a checkered history because Edgar Wright, the guy behind a lot of the Simon Pegg movies, was the original director-writer on this thing, and he had a falling out with Marvel over a variety of reasons. And they kind of reworked his script, but kept a lot of it in there, and brought in Peyton Reed, best known for directing the 60s romantic comedy parody Down with Love. But what happens is you got Paul Rudd in the center role here, and he hits all the right notes. It's kind of funny, heroic, and heartfelt as this Robin Hoodish thief turned reluctant superhero, Scott Lang. And Michael Douglas is also right in the pocket for me as the iconic and iconoclastic scientist Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, in flashback with well-executed, finally plausible CGI de-aging. And in the contemporary body of the movie, Evangeline Lilly is brisk and sexy as Hope Van Dyne, his competent but estranged daughter, and Michael Pena provides comic relief as one of Scott's thieving cronies. My only problem with the film was Corey Stoll, who was solid, I guess. He plays the greedy and megalomaniacal Darren Cross, a former assistant to Pym, who is now in charge of and about to take over Pym's company and sell off his tech as weaponry to the highest bidder. That's kind of shades of the first Iron Man film. But for me, it worked. It's kind of a big little film, kind of like the Ant-Man character. And your take, sir?
Not as good. Not as good. No, I I think this was a missed opportunity. I think that for all the ingenuity that went into something like Guardians of the Galaxy, taking somewhat unknown characters and stuff and giving them a real backstory in life, this picture just kind of just laid there. And I am getting a little sick and tired of all these Marvel pictures trying to weave it into the Marvel universe. I mean, they had to mention S.H.I.E.L.D. and they had to mention Hydra. And somewhere in this film is Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter, but I don't know what part she played. I didn't see it.
Come on, she was in the prequel. They had aged her and de-aged Michael Douglas because it was set in the late 80s.
Oh, was she the woman in the prequel?
Yeah, she was. They did such a good job. You thought, who's that old biddy? Anyway, no, I totally get what you're getting at. And there was something.
But I'm getting tired of them constantly trying to weave it into the Marvel universe rather than just letting it stand on its own. And I felt what could have been a really fun picture was kind of just a kind of drab movie.
I think you, like many of us, wanted to see Edgar Wright go with his vision of it. He had an idea. He makes really entertaining films. I even like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which was not with Simon Pegg, which was his own thing based on a comic book property. I really was looking forward to it, and I was disappointed on that level as well. Also, something's happening, and people are calling it SHF, superhero fatigue. And that might be creeping in and undermining people's.
Well, it could just be Marvel fatigue. I mean, Marvel is getting to. They're really making the same movie over and over again now.
Yeah. The problem that I had with it, you just elucidated. It's very much in the same template as Iron Man 1. Let's quickly wrap up with Trainwreck, because I do think we want to check in on it. I'm among those who don't find Amy Schumer particularly attractive. She's not a sex symbol to me, but I think she's very smart and very funny, and I like a lot of her TV stuff. This, on the other hand, Trainwreck, her first feature film as the star and author of the script, has too much of what I don't like about Judd Apatow, the director, that dweebiness and bathos that he sometimes plums, and his tendency to let a film comedy go on much longer than it deserves to go. Is it funnier than Apatow's Funny People? Oh, yeah. Thanks to the best part of Amy's script and the reliable Bill Hader, who plays a sports doctor who might curtail Amy's wanton sexual exploits with her various partners. She's sort of a libertine, a modern woman who likes to get laid and have fun, but there's no, gravitas or true love in her life.
It's funny you don't like it, because this thing has just gotten sterling reviews, which I didn't even expect out of it.
Well, it's not that I don't like it. I just don't like it as much as other people did. I felt it faltered in places, and look, some of the supporting players who include a not out of his depth LeBron James, the famous basketball player, are good, but this is not knocked up level funny. And again, I'm very fond of a lot of her TV work. Anyway, she's got a good supporting cast, and she's much better than I would have expected as an actress. And Colin Quinn almost runs away with this thing as her racist and chauvinistic father, who has been crippled by a debilitating disease. Yeah, you got to throw that in there, don't you? Anyway, Trainwreck. Some people love it. I didn't love it. I thought it was okay. And Mr. Holmes, may I recommend this crime drama starring the masterly actor Ian McKellen as the elderly retired Sherlock Holmes, who confronts a long unsolved case involving a beautiful woman in his memory. And this is beautifully written. Co-stars Laura Linney as his housekeeper. It's very well directed by Bill Condon and very well acted by everyone involved, particularly the fantastic Mr. McKellen. And it's kind of an elegy, an ode to the Sherlock Holmes character in his sunset years. And the big question is, what happens when the most accomplished deductive mind starts forgetting things in old age? It's moving, entertaining, exciting. I really like Mr. Holmes a lot.
Yeah, film I'm looking forward to seeing, oddly enough.
One more. Sorry. The Stanford Prison Experiment I thought this was great. A provocative docudrama about the 1971 study on the psychology of imprisonment with 24 male undergrads at Stanford who are randomly assigned to be either a guard or a prisoner to gauge their behavior. This was some wrenching, potent stuff. Really solid cast, including Billy Crudup as the guy in charge of the experiment, Ezra Miller as one of the inmates, Ty Sheridan and Olivia Thirlby as the girlfriend to the scientist who's running the thing. Man, if you can see the Stanford Prison Experiment, it'll be great on video too. I encourage you to check it out. It's a creep fest and it's a real story. Okay, sorry. There you go. TV.
Boy, I'll tell you, we discovered a show that's just terrific. Called Humans. It's on AMC, and it is just maybe one of the best pieces of television I've seen in several years now. So,
I've Gemma Chan as the central figure in this thing, basically a synthetic human who is meant to be a housekeeper. She makes Seven of Nine look like Sarah Bernhardt, like she's overacting. This woman is just unbelievably good as the central, like the focus of most of the episodes I've seen. So far.
I think it's just terrific because it's not your typical robot drama. It goes places that most of them don't, and it's more about relationships and sadness of the robots and the life they've been forced to lead and the people who own them and their relationships. I mean, it's just special. It's a very good show.
It also addresses sentience in artificial intelligence as well, in a way, as Ex Machina, which still is one of my favorite films of the year so far.
Yeah.
And, this is an issue. How far will they go?
But it's a great show. It's on USA, and I think they're up to episode 4. In England, they're up to episode 6. And it just gets better and better and better. Just when you think, hey, this could peter out, it doesn't. And
I don't know if any of you guys have seen Utopia, the British show, but one of the figures in Utopia is an actor in this thing, and he's a very, very different character in Humans. I agree totally.
Who was in Utopia that's in this?
The guy who was one of the 2 assassins. Where is Jessica Hyde? He plays the cop who hates the synthetic humans.
Oh,
same
I
guy.
see. Oh, okay, same guy. Huh, okay.
It's acting.
And William Hurt, who is amazing in this thing.
William Hurt. This is like, to me, William Hurt's performance here is very much like Vincent D'Onofrio giving one of the best performances of his career in a new TV series, a new limited TV show. D'Onofrio on Daredevil and Hurt on Humans. Good work.
Yeah, well, they make Hurt out to look like Geppetto in Pinocchio, if you notice. Yeah. Anyway, that's is that about it?
Yeah, I didn't mention Irrational Man, the new Woody Allen film, because it was such a disappointment to me. So I didn't want to pile on. But there you go. We'll be back hopefully next week with more goodies.
Okay, tell them where they can find you.
You can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster. And on Facebook, Michael Snyder's Culture Blast is the name of the page. My conversations with Alex are accessible, as are articles and other audio tracks and video tracks. So, hey, check it out.
Thank you very much, Michael. We'll see you next time.
You got it.
There's more coming up right here on GabNet.